set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold hard truth. Good morning, Cayman. It is Thursday, April the 16th. Happy Thursday to everyone. Happy Thursday, happy Thursday. Who we got logging in this morning? Evelyn, good morning to you, honey. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I got my water and my breakfast apple. Let me just pull that over a little bit. I got some Vicks on the side, which I will be using later on this morning. Good morning, Jessica. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you guys doing? We got a lot to talk about today. This is interesting. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Just checking a few morning messages. I see a lot of interesting content coming in that we will definitely be discussing. And there's a lot going on. So let us kick off while everybody's getting ready to join the show. Get your cup of coffee, get your hot tea. Let us do this. There was an earthquake right off of Savannah Bight, Honduras at 2:04 a.m. And very, very interesting. So, yes. Okay. Whoa, lots and lots of interesting stuff going on. All right, folks. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Jessica, Evelyn, Boomflick, blessed morning to you. JJ, beautiful photo. I love that photo. Shan, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us in our YouTube channel, Shan. I just want to remind anyone, if you've got friends on Instagram, then please, by all means, invite them to join the show on this platform. They can join via YouTube or Facebook. Instagram was just getting like too next level in terms of trying to always have that stream up and working. Generally speaking, we have no issues at all with YouTube or Facebook. So I'm just doing a quick little reminder for the IG people that you guys can actually watch on YouTube. Awesome. All right, so I got some interesting stuff that I'm working on for you guys. It's going to be a very interesting day. Can I just tell you? Never a dull moment here in the Cayman Islands, I must say. We know how to turn up in the drama department for such a small country. I mean, seriously, some days I'm just like, I just have to shake my head. Like, there's nothing else I can do. It's just like, oh my God. So we're going to start out with our daily We've got June. Shan says that she misses the IG live. Yeah, Shan, I'm sorry about that. I don't even know. How is it different on IG? Like, how is it different to watch it on IG live? Poochie. JJ says, I'm ready with my coffee for some CMR. Yes, girl, we're going to get it today. Carla, good morning. Osmond, buenos dias. How are you? Shan, you're here for it though. Melissa, thank you so much. Gina, Michael, John, Annie says peace and love for everyone. Everyone keep safe. Christine, Caradine, Jennifer, Melissa, um, Dimitri, Corrine. Just gonna let. So, yes, I wanted to say that I'm just gonna check one little thing before we get into the meat and potatoes. So yesterday's show, of course, my eyes are like bothering me again. Guys, I got some serious dry eyes going on here. I don't know if it's the weather, lack of sleep, probably a combination of both, but my eyes have really been bothering me lately. So forgive me while I try to put some eye drops in my eye. Oh, and it's like seriously burning me when I put the eye drops in. So I know that I've got really bad. Oops, I missed that eye. I know I've got a really bad case of. I don't think that one went in at all, really. Ugh. I know I've got a really bad case of dry eyes at the moment. I'm looking for my usual tissue here and I don't see it. All right, give me 1 second. I'm gonna just cue up some music, and then I'm gonna just grab some tissue real quick. So hold on 1 second. I am going to put this lens cap on, and then music, and I will be right back. You don't know who I know all about you. I've come to talk to you tonight about the things I've seen you do. I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold-hearted truth. All right, folks, I'm back. I didn't want to have these drops like running down my eyes, and next thing you know, somebody joins the show and they're like, "Oh my God, who made Sandy cry today? She's crying. Go join John in the corner." I didn't want you guys up in it like that because it's just dry eyes, and I had to put in some eye drops. So it's not a situation of any tears today. So let's get this bus on the road. I'm supposed to be having some guests join me. I don't know if the exact time, but stay tuned. We're going to have them joining us. They're people who were actually medical students who will be leaving the island. And they wanted to share a little bit about their experiences because they contacted us early in the week saying that they actually wanted to leave Cayman and they were having some difficulties trying to get out of here. And we know that this is an ongoing thing. So that's one of the things that we will definitely be talking about this morning. Louis, beautiful Louis, handsome Louis, excuse me, Louis. Good morning, family, Caymanian at home and abroad. Good morning to you. Buenos dias, Marlon. Christine, good morning to you. We've got Merly, Jose. Jose says, lindo dia to everyone, to todos. So, beautiful day. Yes, indeed. Gadiel is here for it. Corrine says, dry eyes. Me too from last week. Yeah, I don't know if it's like, I mean, I do suffer actually from chronic dry eyes. So I'm always having to like walk around with these little packets of teardrops. I use the Refresh, and then I also have some prescription ones because the ophthalmologist. What the? Hold on. Let me get it. It's like my brain has to get it before my lips can say it. I want to overpronounce the TH. Ophthalmologist. No. the fuck? Don't worry, we're gonna get it here in a second. Hold on, I'm gonna tell you exactly how you pronounce that word because now that's gonna. I know how to spell it, but I can't even pronounce it. Ophthalmologist. Why does that sound wrong though? I'm saying it, but it still sounds wrong. We're gonna get that here in a second. No word shall go unpronounced or mispronounced in this day and age with the modern technology that we have, because we're on it. John, are you paying attention? We are on it, folks. We refuse to let these words get the best of us. So give me a second here, and I'm gonna find that little. Here we go. Ready for it?
Ophthalmologist.
Ophthalmologist. Yes, I was not pronouncing the PH. I was going straight from the OTH. It's ophthalmologist. And that is more what we know as an optometrist or an optician. Why can't I just pick the easier of the words? Optometrist. Anyway, so the eye doctor, folks, has basically said to me that I don't really have so much of an issue of dry eyes as I do. Apparently, our eyes produce oils, which who knew? I've actually had my tear ducts closed off because I don't produce enough tears. So I'm not a person that, like, I don't have a high blink rate. So I don't really produce enough tears. And so the other issue is because I think it's like excess oil coming out of the glands. What that does is that creates something similar to what I think I'm suffering from, which is dry eyes. But she said it's not technically dry eyes. So one of the things that I have to do is get a warm, like really, really warm compress and actually push underneath my eyes to try to eradicate the oil. Like I do that in the mornings, and just right now for some reason I think it's a combination of just a bunch of other things, not sleeping and whatever else that's contributing to it. So minor stuff. Mina, good morning. What about difficulties trying to get back? We're going to talk about that this morning as well. Trisha's here for it. Beautiful Trisha, looking good in that Facebook profile photo. Tamika says good morning to everyone. Monique, yes, I knew the word. I just wasn't pronouncing it right. Ophthalmologist. I think I was trying to... Avid, what is his name? Evadne, I think that's how that's pronounced. Good morning to you. God bless you as well. Tamika, yes, an optometrist is another word. And to be honest, what is the difference between the two? So let's have a little learning moment this morning. There's nothing wrong with us learning something new. So an ophthalmologist is a doctor who studies and treats problems and diseases of the eye. Very good. So how is that different than an optometrist? Let us find this out. So by comparison, an optometrist is a person whose job it is to examine people's eyes to find out if they need eyeglasses or medical treatment. Interesting. So it seems like the optometrist is obviously a lesser qualified person, and not to say that they're not a specialist in their own right, but they are not necessarily a doctor that let's compare. They're not necessarily a doctor that specializes in diseases of the eye. So an optometrist is normally an eye doctor. They examine, diagnose, and treat your eyes. And an ophthalmologist is a medical doctor who can perform medical and surgical interventions for eye conditions. An optician is a professional who can help fit eyeglasses, contact lenses, and other visionary correcting devices. Interesting. Wow. Who knew? Because I think that honestly, I always thought in my head they were a little bit interchangeable, but they are different educational levels. So, there's different things that they technically do. You may be going to someone for some of the lesser services, but it's entirely possible that they are actually a medical doctor as opposed to just being an optician or an no, yes, opticians. Um, so there you go, folks. We learn something new every day. It's a beautiful world where literally we have information at our fingertips, ready to go and ready to learn. You've only got to be willing. That's the thing. Some people are kind of making some comments yesterday about the press conference that I found to be very, very interesting. So there were some concerns about the minister comparing himself to Henry Ford, and the discussion kind of ensued in my group about he was saying that Henry Ford was obviously like Ford Motor Company, brilliant guy. DJ Tolete, buenos dias. Marshall, good morning. So yeah, so we were saying how he made this whole speech, which was, I guess, nice in his head, about how what do you call it? Henry Ford surrounded himself by really qualified and intelligent people. And so I think the implication was that that's all you need to do. And there's a big difference between surrounding yourself with really intelligent people when you're out of your depth or you're out of your league. And that has been the criticism most recently that the minister appears to have been offended by. So right now he is overcompensating for a situation by going out of his way. Like the day before, he was going on and on about all of these really technical sounding things, and when you listen, you're like, you can read these prepared speeches, but is there really a level of understanding that goes with it? That's where the tire meets the road. So anyway, yesterday this analogy to Henry Ford, sorry, was very, very interesting, because a lot of people were thinking to themselves, the problem with that is Henry Ford was actually a highly qualified individual in his own right. So he was an engineer by profession, a senior engineer at that. And so the question becomes, you're comparing yourself to someone who is extremely qualified, but are you saying that you have those qualifications? Like, it was the point was missed. It was a little bit confusing on why that analogy was being deployed or utilized, because a lot of people were like, don't quite get the point that you're trying to make. Because yes, Tom, it's like the village idiot, right? The village idiot can surround themselves with the most intelligent people in the village, PhD holders and whatever, and they can sit down and maybe even have a discussion and have tea and that sort of thing. But your common sense or your knowledge doesn't just transfer by osmosis. So in other words, just being in that person's presence is simply not enough. You have to be willing yourself to get out of your comfort zone and to learn different things. Now, don't get me wrong. They say even a broken clock is right twice a day. So I think that at the end of the day, anyone can learn. And one of the best ways in which we do learn is from other people. But the mere act of surrounding yourself around other people, that itself does not translate or equate to you acquiring their knowledge or their experience. So I kind of had a joke with one of my cousins. He is so funny. And we were like, sometimes the village idiot doesn't know that he's the village idiot. And so the joke is on them in a way because everybody else gets it and the village idiot just doesn't get it. So it's a little funny. Anyway, let me see. JJ is sending us a Spanish message. She wants me to translate this, I guess. JJ, ¿por qué? Why are you challenging my language skills? All right. So she says, let me see. Están planeando. Is that how we say that word? Planeando a poner vuelos a RD. What is RD? Checa la página de Loyalty Inc. Allí posteé la información para que los pongas en tu página para que sepa la población dominicana. Oh my God. All right, let's help me out here, guys. So this one says, this word, hold on. I'm going to get this. I am going to get this, JJ. You're not taking me under with this translation today. Hold on. I'm going to look up a word because this one I do not know. So something about putting, I don't know what RD means. Hold on. You can't always do these translations as literally. So planning on putting, okay, the flights. Oh, is RD Republic Dominicana or Republic? Yes. Okay, so now I get the initials you're using. You gotta, if you're gonna do Spanish for me, you have to spell it out exactly, because otherwise I may not always get it. So this page, oh Lord. Okay, so something about us posting information on this page. I think about the Dominicana, so about the Dominican woman who was involved in that whole situation in town. So John, they're planning flights to the Dominican Republic. Oh, okay. All of that to tell me that. Oh my gosh. JJ, that was for DJ Telote. Oh, because he's from Dominican to post information on his page because the government is planning to make a flight to DR. Okay. Robert Turk. Muchas gracias to my Spanish friends for helping me out here. So RD is for Dominican Republic. Got it. Okay, Rosita, morning. Okay, so I thought you were talking about my page when I was saying the page. So basically, you telling him to post it on his page for his, I guess, loyal followers or whatever. Yes, Marshall, just because you surround yourself with smart people does not mean you're smart. Mind you, I guess you at least know that much to surround yourself with smart people, but happy birthday to Joan Brown. Today's Joan's birthday. Oh, happy birthday, darling. Wishing you all the best. And DJ Tolete says, muchas gracias. Try pronouncing it in two parts. Ophthalmologist. Thank you, Clinton. Yes, I appreciate that. No school, keeping all over the world. Why are they leaving? And how is it possible that with all the borders closing? All right, we're going to get to that in a minute. Tamika says she's an optician. Oh, very good, Tamika. June. Yes, thank you so much. Good morning. Good morning, Dawn. And yes, happy birthday to Joan. All right, let's get to our daily ohm before we forget. Because you know what ends up happening is we get into like the meat and potatoes of the show. And then next thing you know, we've forgotten all about our daily ohm. Um, so thank you. I got another translation here. Someone says cut and paste the message into Google for translation may be best. Well, the problem is um, I can't grab the text quite like that. So, yeah, it took me a minute to type some of the words out, but we got the gist of it. Thank you, JJ. Buenos dias. I'm Melanie. Mi amiga. Welcome. Bienvenido. A Cayman Mall Road. You guys keep it up. Next thing you know, I'm going to be truly speaking some Spanglish around here. Daily Ohm. So today's inspirational message. I don't feel like they've updated the Daily Ohm because this was the same message yesterday about being a better person. So that hasn't been updated. Well, we will find something else positive to put out there in the universe this morning. Let's just randomly pick one since they haven't updated it. Means we have to go back in time. Let us do one on promises. This is kind of a good one. No, sharing with your neighbors. I think this is more than fitting in these COVID-19 days. Big shout out to Alric Lindsay, mi amigo, who is a volunteer with the Cayman Islands Food Bank. Alric does a lot of work. He's got some free time on his hands, and even when he doesn't have free time, he seems to make it for Melanie had a chuckle at her greeting this morning. Alric seems to make time for just this, sharing with his neighbors and helping people out. The Cayman Islands Food Bank, folks, has been very, very busy at making sure that people, especially in a time like this, have cooked meals. They're delivering at least 150 meals a day. There have been a number of partners who are donating food to them, which I think is wonderful. Thank you so much to Progressives. There was one with a company called, I'm going to get the name here in a second, but they do fresh juices. It's just a lot of companies and individuals. Famous restaurant, Krista, I know has been working on stuff as well. So there are a lot of companies out there who are working in conjunction with nonprofit organizations such as the Cayman Islands Food Bank to ensure that people are getting food and people are eating. So thank you so much to their continued efforts. We all have to pitch in and do what we can. So this daily ohm says sharing with your neighbors. If you're craving community, look to your own neighbors to forge new relationships and build something new together. Many of our relationships can be fleeting or do not deepen past a superficial level. Yet these connections, as trivial as they can seem, often have the potential to grow into something much more essential. When we crave community, we should focus our attention on these casual acquaintances. To forge a bond with neighbors, we need to work together with them so that we have a context from which to begin a more mature relationship. Sharing tasks that are part of living can be a wonderful way to become a part of a larger community, make new friends, and lighten the workload of everyone involved. Creating a network of neighbors who agree to pool certain resources and share daily duties can be as easy as taking the initiative. If you're willing to take the first step by reaching out to the individuals and families who share your building or your street, you can likely find that others are receptive to the notion. Starting small with just a few people can help you orchestrate a smoothly running system. Together, you will need to decide what chores you want to do in the community and what resources can be shared. For community sharing, some ideas for community sharing: childcare, errands, especially for the elderly, housework, keeping a joint garden, cooking for a group, carpooling. For instance, you could cook large meals for four neighbors once a week. You take off 4 nights after that, and as you grow to trust one another, you can begin adding new members to your evolving network or introducing new tasks to your shared roster of duties. Actions speak louder than words. Amen to that. So, working closely with neighbors to ensure that the well being of the group can be a wonderful way to build a sense of community in your locale. Not everyone you approach will be open to the idea of becoming part of a network of sharing. As you connect with those who do appreciate the merits of such a system, you will discover that others are just as eager as you to create interpersonal connections that are defined by substance. I like that. I like that daily own today. Again, all about being involved in the community and sharing, and we can do it at so many different levels. I mean, there are lots of nonprofit organizations out there, so a lot of times we don't have to start our own, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. But even within your own neighborhood, there are things that you can do. Right now, obviously, we're in a bit of a situation where it's a little bit ticklish, so you can't just run over to your neighbor and be like, "Oh, I'm here to help you clean your house." We can't do that right now because of the soft curfew and the quarantining and social distancing, measures that are in place. But perhaps once we come out of this, there'll be lots of opportunities for us to be more involved at the community level. And like I said, there are people right now who every single day are doing this. Um, so Selena, good morning. Mazita, good morning to you. Mazita, I haven't forgotten you, by the way. I haven't forgotten you. Bro wants to know if he can go fishing this Friday. Bro, I wouldn't count on it because Friday, which is tomorrow already, this week just flew by, can I tell you? The current stay in place order expires, I believe it's tomorrow. However, you can expect that to be extended. Nothing is changing for a hot minute. So, no to the fishing. Beaches will be closed, I think, for the foreseeable future. Despite beaches being closed, no fishing, no water activity, I'm still receiving messages from people. I got one up to this morning that says, "Good morning. I saw on your Facebook page or someone else saw a couple who came ashore yesterday. Is there any police briefing on this or is it business as usual?" So I didn't see that comment personally, so I don't know how they came ashore and what they came ashore on. Presumably they weren't swimming in the open ocean. I don't know. So I think that people need to be mindful that no water sports means no water sports. There's no paddle boarding, there's no swimming in the ocean, there's no canoeing, there's nothing. Don't go in the water. Don't go on the beach. Simple. End of story. Keisha, good morning to you, beautiful. Alric is here for Grace. Says Alric is awesome. Went to school with him. Aw, bringing back some memories there. I could tell Alric is probably a little bit of trouble in school, Grace. We might have to get the inside scoop on what little girl's pigtails he was pulling. He's probably pulling yours, Grace. Grace is absolutely beautiful. Grace Powell, thank you so much. And Grace has a daughter that every time I see her, I think, oh, she is so pretty. And she's such a sweet little girl and she's so smart. And she just is doing extremely well. I know last year before, she was getting ready for like exams and stuff already. And I was like, oh my gosh, already? Like, I swear the last time I saw her, she was like 10 or younger, Krista, good morning. Krista's going to be joining us next week on Cayman Mall Road. So make sure you guys tune in for that on Wednesday, the 22nd. Krista has an eating clean business that I'm super excited for you guys to learn more about. Louis says fishermen can feed the people too. That is absolutely right, Louis. But right now, because people would not respect what was put in place, unfortunately, they had to tighten the noose on all of us. So we all pay for the few jackasses out there. Speaking of jackasses, we did our first jackass of the day a few days ago. And rest assured that we have more coming. Apparently, this island is full of a lot of jackasses. And we will be naming them and putting their photos up for everyone to see. It is our personal opinion that they're a jackass. And we will tell you why we think that. You can choose to agree or disagree. Doesn't really matter. You know, yesterday I was surprised. I want to step back a little bit on the conversation. I was surprised at the response that our regional correspondent reporter, who's Danica Daniels, she's stationed in Kingston, Jamaica. I was really surprised at the response that she received from a lot of her audience. Now, obviously, you know, a lot of people in Cayman, as well as people who listen to the show, are Jamaican nationals, and Jamaicans have a reputation for having a lot of national pride. And they also have a reputation for being very much in your face, which we get. And so they really came at Danica very hard yesterday. Some jumped in midway into the conversation. Oh, tell the prime minister not to let her back. She can't come out. Well, she's actually a Jamaican, so living in Jamaica. So the prime minister can't kick her out, folks. That's not how this works. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. We had this conversation over the weekend in relation to Dwayne Seymour, the Minister of Health, suggesting that someone be thrown in jail for their opinion. That's not the society that we live in, folks. We're not about that life. You know, if I have an opinion, I think somebody's a jackass, that's my opinion and I'm entitled to it. That's a democracy. That's what we should be striving for. Now, there are ways to express that, you know, that might be a little bit more professional than others. And that's maybe where the difference really can be gleaned from. But I really am bothered by the fact that, and you know what really ticked people off? We were having a very good conversation and, you know, she's bringing out a lot of interesting things. It was when she said that Back Road is known for prostitution. And I don't know anything about Back Road in Portmore or anywhere else in Jamaica. I'm assuming she knows what she's talking about because she lives in Jamaica. And everybody's like, no, what's she talking about? Jamaica don't have no back road and no prostitutes and blah, blah, blah. Now, you know, I have to raise an eyebrow at that because everybody has a back road in some fashion or some ways or whatever. So I found that really hard to believe. And then after the show, I spoke to my husband, who happens to be a Jamaican, 100%, lived his entire life in Jamaica. And I said to him, I said, honey, you know anything about this back road thing? And he laughed and he's like, he's like, everybody knows about back road. Everybody knows what back road means. You know, everybody knows that that's like a prostitution area or hub or whatever. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, like whoever says that they don't know anything about back road or back road doesn't exist in Jamaica, they're being delusional or they're just straight up lying. And then he said that apparently on Back Road, the same Back Road in Portmore, they actually have these seedy hotels that charge you by the hour. Now, everybody knows a hotel that allows you to pay by the hour. There's only one reason why you go to a hotel and pay by the hour. Hello. Let's just be frank and honest here. So I don't know why you people trying to get all up in arms about poor Danica, questioning whether or not she's a Jamaican and where she come out from and blah, blah, blah. Because she was speaking a little bit of truth that was making people uncomfortable. We all have truths about our country, no matter how patriotic we are, that makes us uncomfortable. And it is what it is. There is a lot of things in the Cayman Islands that people would rather not talk about that's happening here. From the child molestation to the back roads that we have here and some of these shady bars, we shall call them, because they have a liquor licensing. They have a liquor license, but we know what they're all about. Most of them, yeah, they're a bar. You can get a drink, but you can also get, you know, a woman on the side kind of thing. And you don't even get her for an hour. You might get her for 20 minutes in the bathroom of the bar. So let's not, you know, be deceptive. It is what it is. This is the cold hard truth. If you don't want the truth, do not tune into this program. Do not tune into Cayman Law Road. This is not the platform for you. And we're not about censorship. And we are definitely not about trying to sugarcoat the truth, because that's part of the problem now. The world that we live in, everybody's trying to sugarcoat it, and nobody gets to the meat and potatoes of saying, yes, we have these issues. And the only way to resolve any problems that you have is to admit the truth, folks. So when people are like, no, I mean, I know nothing about no backyard and why she talks so and tell I'm gonna shut her mouth. I was like, people, let me do a little bit of background checks on this back road situation. Not backyard. Did I just say backyard? Back road. It's Cayman Law Road. That's a different road. But a back road over there, so we know where it is. Grace says, I'm from Jamaica, and yes, definitely back road. Everybody knows it's like a general term from what I'm understanding. Like, you say back road in a Jamaica, everybody know what you're talking about. Everybody's like, all right, we get you. Micheline says, yes, of course. Back road in Jamaica is popularly known. You go to YouTube as well, and you'll see what takes place there. Lord have mercy, my eyes can't take that, so. Woo! Yes, whoa. All I know is they did do her up. So, yeah, and I thought it was very unfair. I thought it was really unfair how our Jamaican cousins, we're going to call them cousins today, we're going to put a little bit of distance because of their rude behavior. We will not be calling them our sisters and brothers. Mostly women were going at her, which is so wrong. Sometimes as women, we need to really check it. But our Jamaican cousins were going at the woman hard, saying all kind of stuff. And thankfully, well, we know here at Cayman Mall Road, we can't have no one collaborating with us that doesn't have thick skin. Because God knows they would be crying every single day. They'd be worse than poor John John on the platform crying all over Cayman Mall Road. So she's not bothered by your comments. She's a professional in her own right. Um, her mom actually is a nurse in Canada, and she's, a lot of these nurses and stuff are working on the front line. The funny thing is, even when she was talking about social distancing, the fact that a lot of people in Jamaica are not respecting the social distancing, some persons were kind of like, well, that's not true. I don't know what part of Jamaica she's living in, blah, blah, blah. And not even an hour after I finished my show, I got multiple videos in this same Portmore area, which is supposed to be on a complete lockdown, showing traffic jams like I don't know what, people on top of each other like sardines, respecting no such thing as social distancing. I was like, these people who are commenting, did they have a little something in the tea this morning? Because it definitely wasn't the truth that they were sipping on. They were sipping on some straight up BBC BS. And if you don't know what that means, figure it out. I was just shocked. I was like, no, man, these people are not easy. Marshall says, I don't know why, because they know exactly what's happening in Jamaica. It's not from there or have any, I'm not from there or have any family there, but I know what be happening in Jamaica. They are even prostituting in New Kingston. I'm not asking anyone. This is something I've seen with my own eyes. And every country deals with prostitution on some level. Charlene says, good. So grateful you mentioned that, because the way some of them acted, that behavior only happens elsewhere. And, I understand national pride. The national pride should never prevent you from being honest and truthful and admitting what is happening either in your own house, your own backyard, or back road, or what's happening on the mall road. It shouldn't. You just have to be honest with yourself. So, I myself have read articles about the prostitution situation in Jamaica, and sometimes how even politicians are out there. And this whole thing with, the gay and homosexual community prostituting themselves. It's an unfortunate thing, but prostitution exists in most societies. And the truth of the matter is, the poorer the country is, the more likely you are to have prostitution because people are trying to find a way out of poverty. And oftentimes, the only asset that they think they have is to sell their own bodies. And that's sad because oftentimes children even get or forced into prostitution by their parents or moms or whatever to try and help them pay the bills. So Mario says there is a back road, which is not operational since COVID. So made it seems operational. I'm not quite sure I understand that one, Mario. But right here in Cayman, lots of people involved in the sale and peddling of their body for money. You know, the $6 an hour just isn't cutting it, but they still want to come here. And so we've got high-end prostitutes, mid-range, and low-end that you can get it practically for free. And it is what it is. So Shan says, despite the fact that Jamaica has prostitutes, it wasn't necessary. But you need to put in context, Shan, why she said that. She wasn't saying that trying to just be negative. She was actually using that as a reference point because I don't know Portmore. I don't really know anything about a lot of Jamaica. So I was asking her, and again, go back to the conversation and see how it came up. I was asking her something very, very specific about the location, how people get in and out of Portmore. Because the second the Prime Minister announced that there's a lockdown, all of a sudden there was like a mass exodus in Portmore. And I'm like, well, what's the point of that? You know, you've given people notice, and that notice period gave them an opportunity to get out. Now, here's the thing with Jamaica. They saw an additional 20 persons coming in with results yesterday. Again, the hub being from that BPO, which is a call center in Portmore. And they now have their youngest case of a COVID-19 infection being a 2-year-old toddler, a child. This is getting serious, folks. And so even last night in their legislative assembly, they had an emergency session. They were talking about their concerns with these BPOs, these call centers, because they have so many people contained in a relatively small area that this is something now that the government is feeling like they have to directly address. So Grace says, thanks, Sandy, as she's doing her associates at UCCI in computer science. Oh, computer science. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Thanks for the update, Grace. Very good. Alric is such a nerd. He used to ask Grace if she had done her homework. Was he really concerned, Grace, or was he trying to copy your homework? Which was it? No, I can see that Alric was probably a nerd back in the day. Yep. Avril, good morning. Someone living on a boat. Oh. So they're living in a boat and they were allowed to come ashore? Do we allow people to just randomly live on boats in our waters? I don't know about this. This is an interesting question. I will have to inquire about because I honestly don't know how that works. Sue says she's glad to hear that so many desperate people are receiving help and we all have to play our part. Louis has a bit of encouraging words here. And Andy Stanley once said, do for one what you want to do for everyone. Thank you for that. I love that. Every little bit helps. All right. Natasha wants the website for the licensing department. Which licensing department? Is that business licensing or vehicular licensing? Grace is hanging in. So Alric reminds us that Green to Go did a batch of fresh juices in conjunction with Progressive distributors. And they deliver these daily to some homeless and other vulnerable people in the community. And of course, we want to support any companies that support the vulnerable in our community. So if you guys are interested in getting fresh juices, check out Green to Go. They're in Cannon Place, which used to be the old Merco Center in Industrial Park. And there you have their website and their telephone number. Thank you, Alwick, for sharing that information. So definitely go check them out. Anne says, backyard here in Cayman is called bars. Yes, indeed. Grace, my mom is there. Definitely not social distancing. Going on numbers are straight up wrong. Yes, I agree. Carrie Ann says you find prostitutes everywhere. Yes, you do. We said that already. But having said that, there's some places that may have more than others. And there's some that, So Mario says someone made a derogatory comment on her, which was wrong. That's why she was upset. I'm not following you there, Mario, because I don't think she was ever upset. I mean, I speak to her every day, and she was not upset. She was like, psh, whatever. These are my people. I know how they stay still, so I'm in a business with them. That's pretty much her attitude. And, it's so weird, right? When people criticize us, like as a Caymanian, I feel like I should be able to criticize my own Caymanians. Hardcore truth. But I get that if someone is an outsider, you feel a different way when they say something because you're like, what do they really know about your country or your lifestyle or whatever? But at the end of the day, we have to be accepting that criticism can come from all different directions in life. I'm probably more receptive personally if it is one of my own, because I'm like, yes, they are criticizing because they're invested in this community. Sometimes an outsider is just criticizing with limited information just because, they're trying to make us look bad. That's what we think. Like we think, okay, they've got an ulterior motive. So Jason says, any Jamaican that doesn't know about Back Road must live at some far bush place. And all your husband said is 100%. I hail from the Gaza. Respect, Jason. Respect for the truth. Yeah, and I mean, listen, my husband wouldn't have been hanging out in Back Road. I'm pretty sure of that. He's a country boy. He's from St. Mary, but, he's lived in Kingston. I don't know that he's ever lived. His dad is from Spanish Town, so maybe he's a little bit more familiar with Portmore because of that connection. And because of the nature of his job, he's traveled all over Jamaica from like one end to the next. So the man well know a lot of different areas. Speaking of that, I have a sister. She was on this show before. Carmelie. Carmelie is more Jamaican than most Jamaicans I know. I've actually heard Carmelie, like people say to me, like Jamaicans will say, how Carmelie know about this street? Like she'll mention a street down in some little hole in the wall place. And people are like, how does your sister even know? I'm like, listen, I don't know nothing about that. And people are just like, she knows every nook and cranny in Jamaica, more so than most Jamaicans living in Jamaica. And I guess it's just, a matter of where you're hanging out, who you're hanging out with, how you get around. I guess when she gets there, she's all up into the mix. So Alma says, yes, when she was trying to talk about the virus in the call center, they started to distract her and get upset that she was speaking the truth. Even about the call center. No. The call center is not set up so. I'm like, everybody knows the way that call centers make money is they pack you into a very closed area like sardines. The more, the better. Give you one little seat like this, a headset, maybe a little computer, depending on what sort of work you're doing. And you're answering and making calls and login and whatever. So why would that be something that you consider offensive? Like, I just wasn't getting it. You guys, your vibe was off yesterday. Nisa wants to know what the topic is. We were talking about a couple of different things. In a minute, we're going to talk about the flights that are coming up and the people who need to be preparing themselves to leave the island. Dimitrik, Gadiel says the truth hurts, fam. Apparently so. Demetrix says, to be honest, the first time when I saw a few friends and I drive through back road, I was saying, yes, this place looks nice. Seeing these dress up girls in short shorts, etc. was unbelievable. I was like to my friends, where the party is? And they all laugh at me because I was told my location and what takes place on back road, dying with laughter, laughing out loud. Dimitrik, hopefully you weren't trying to pick any of them up. It kind of reminds me of Cuba. So my first trip to Cuba, this was many, many years ago, I went with a friend who happened to be a Ghani. And we wanted to experience Cuba together. No, we were not in a relationship, and it was not that kind of thing. We were just friends. So when we would go out, we stayed at, I forget what hotel that is now, but it's like right by La Rampa, right? And so at night, Cuba is a very lively place. And so we were like, okay, let's go out into the evening. We're here to explore the culture. We're in Havana. You know, we want to take some tours in the country, but we want to really find out what Cuba is all about. So now we're walking up and down on La Rampa. In the evenings, we go to the ice cream parlor and all this sort of stuff. And my friend, like I said, he's a guy, so you know men already. They thinking one little thing, especially when they're in a Spanish country. So he's looking and some nice looking girls around here, man. And I see him checking out these women dress, you know, kind of like back road style. And he's like, maybe I should say hola. Like, let me pull up my translation book. Say hola, mommy, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm standing there looking at him trying to talk to this woman in particular. And I'm just like, hold on a second. I think that woman is actually a transvestite. You know, I think that woman is a man. Dressed as a woman. No, man, that can't be. Blah, blah, blah. And so one of the people that we were actually going to be meeting with he worked for the Cuban government and he was a translator for Castro. And when we met with him, you know, he filled us in a lot of different cultural things about the country and that sort of thing. And he said, he started talking about this area, La Rampa, and, you know, what goes on there after certain hours of the night and that sort of thing. And that's like their version of back road. So when he was having this conversation, I said, by the way, I notice a lot of women, I'm using that very loosely, who kind of look like to me like they could be something else. He's like, oh yes, that's very popular. You know, despite, you know, the Cuban government, I guess, having a certain stance against homosexuals and whatever, you know, a lot of men dress up. I don't know if they're true transvestites, if they're like transitioning or they're just dressing up because the money is more when they dress like a woman. I don't know how that works. But he said, yeah, you have to be careful because, you know, a lot of those women are actually guys. So, you know, if you're not into that kind of thing, you be careful who you're giving the American dollars to. So I had to laugh and I just like turned and looked at my friend. I was like, I mean, I gotta say nothing else. Michelin said Dump Road is basically heading down that way as well. Well, we are aware. I think the difference with Cayman, and this is why people say it's like in the bars, like the women don't literally stand up on the streets yet. And I hope that we never get to this point. But it's bad enough that they're in the bars because that means that someone's taken out a work permit for them and they're having them employed. And my understanding is there's certain employers that are complicit in this behavior. They know what's going on. They're turning a blind eye to it. Some of them are even pimping the girls out themselves. And this is our dirty little secrets here in the Cayman Islands. This is part of our truth. So Cayman has its own version of backroads. So Carrie Ann says, let's talk about Cayman and not Jamaica. Well, probably 95% of the conversation is always about Cayman. But like we said yesterday, we do not live in a world by ourselves. There are a lot of things that are interconnected. We are interconnected with Cayman, Jamaica, the US, Honduras, Nicaragua, Dominican Republic. We need to know what's going on in the world. She said, it's not Jamaican Mall Road. Alright. Marshall gets it. He says, this is Cayman Mall Road. Everything goes, the bad and the ugly. Thank you, brother. Sophia, I'm afraid there's nothing new on the money transfer businesses. I know yesterday we were trying to see how Western Union online would work. I will be testing that out this week to see if I can send funds to Jamaica using my CI debit card. It looks like on the face of it that it might be possible. Okay, Jennifer says taxi drivers were told that we could work taking 2 people. My taxi license and inspection, but I went yesterday and I was told I need an exemption letter to say that I'm essential. Where did you go? If you could clarify that for me. But I do want to clarify this point because I think that this is worth saying. Okay. So I was having this conversation with a friend yesterday, and I think a lot of people are confused about how the essential designation works. So what the government did when we first went into lockdown, they said, listen, there are certain businesses that are considered an essential service. And they list categories like grocery stores. And in the case of the grocery stores, they actually list them by name. Foster's, Kirk's, because there's only so many grocery stores in the island, so it was super easy, right? But then they had broader categories. They had media, I'm trying to think, utility companies. So they had a bunch of different categories. And then they basically said, listen, you can apply if you want to be considered for exempted status. Of course, what they had happening is tons of people applying, overly applying, thousands of applications were coming in and everybody wanted exempted status. Law firms that have 500-600 workers were like, yeah, we want our entire company of workers to be able to come in. And the premier and cabinet was like, no. You're misunderstanding what essential services mean. And you're misunderstanding the intent of this. If we allowed every single business that has applied to become an exempted service and allow all of their employees in, what would the point of that be? That would mean that it would be business as usual. The roads would be packed with traffic. Everyone would be going into work to their financial services businesses, their law firm, their pool business, the this, the that, whatever. And that defies the logic behind having a stay-at-home provision. That defies a soft curfew provision. It makes absolutely no sense. So despite having these broad categories of grocery stores, mini marts, they're all included, you have to individually apply to the Cayman Islands government. If your category isn't already listed, then you can apply and say, hey, this category should be added, and specifically my business should be added. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to set out why and it's not the company that gets exempted status, it's individuals in the company. So say, for example, I own a mechanic shop. I might say that I want my lead mechanic who deals with emergency situations and is well versed to help people, if they have, I don't know what kind of emergency situation with a car, but whatever, that person can assist them with that emergency situation. And this is how we plan at my business to make sure that we maintain the social distancing parameters. We're going to put up, a tape to say you stand here, you stand there. We're only going to allow 2 people in the door at one time. Given the square footage that we have, that allows the 6 feet minimum social distancing, all of these things. So you actually have to make a choice, an application, and make a case as to why you should be considered. Now, Jennifer, I think with taxi drivers, it is a little bit confusing because he did say that taxi drivers, generally speaking, would be included in this, and that there was, I don't know that he specifically said there was no need to apply per se, but there was kind of this general feeling, because I did hear that comment as well, that there was no need to apply, that as long as you only had 2 people in your car. Now, I was confused when I heard it about, did that mean 2 persons, including you as driver, or did that mean 2 passengers? Because I don't think that was ever clear. But, I'm surprised to hear, Jennifer, that this late in the game, that this question is still floating around, because where is the taxi association, or what's it called? The public transport, which is a government agency. Why haven't they clarified this type of thing and informed all taxi drivers of exactly how this would work and what you needed to do? So it's a fair point that some information, there are gaps in information, and people, government agencies and departments, I think, could do a better job of understanding themselves how this works, because some of them have given out misinformation. And also, just really explaining how it works. So I would encourage public transport. You're often very quiet. Maybe this is a time for you to put out an advisory out there for your taxi drivers to make sure that they understand what the limitations are and what they can do from what they can't do. So Grace is reminiscing about Mark Luke, saying how they would climb the fence and steal off to buy ice cream at Devon House because they lived right next door. So Mario says back road is closed down, sadly. Funny. Charlene. So Charlene said there's good and bad on both sides, and are too quick to disrespect scandal and speak out very quickly, and both loudly when any Caymanian is concerned. Let's keep it real. On a not perfect, any better than anyone else. Straight up. Sorry. Yeah. One of these days we're going to have the Cayman Jamaican conversation. But that won't be today. That will probably be a month-long conversation, because there's so many opinions. And, Klein wants to know if we're talking about virus or sex. We're talking about everything, Klein. Welcome to the program. It's called The Cold Hard Truth, morning edition. Misha, good morning. Misha is another volunteer with the Cayman Islands Food Bank. Speaking of our daily Om for the day, about helping people, helping your community, Misha saw an opportunity to come up with an idea of providing masks. So she learned how to sew and make her own mask. So, we can help out in so many different ways. And Misha started making masks and selling them, with the proceeds going to help the food bank. So not only does she volunteer of her time at the food bank on Saturdays, handing out groceries at the First Assembly Church, she also decided in her spare time, because everybody's got a little bit of spare time right now, to learn how to make masks, borrow somebody else's sewing machine, get and buy the material. And her boyfriend, and her brother, who all share the same household, have been busy with their little fingers on that sewing machine, cutting cloth and selling tons of masks. So if you guys are interested in supporting this initiative, please contact the Cayman Islands Food Bank Director, Philip, or Misha via WhatsApp. Let me just give you their WhatsApp numbers, because this is a great way to be supportive of a cause and also get a nice cloth mask to help protect yourself. So Misha's WhatsApp number 917-4997, and is Philip is 926-6111. So link up, people, link up. Support others. Shan says we can test out Western Union with her. Send her some money. Shan, are you not in Cayman? Are you in Jamaica? I actually want to test it out, sending money to a Jamaican bank account. Because now with people being locked down all over the world, it's going to become more and more difficult for people to physically get to like a money services location, right? Alice, good morning. Jackie. Grace says essential is essential, not rocket science, people. Apparently everyone wants to believe that their business is an essential service, no matter what it is that they're doing. Everybody's like, yes, it's essential that you have your pool. And there are some arguments out there for very specific people. Oh, I need my pool for my therapy, or I need this, or oh, the pool is going to grow mold. And it's like, okay. Mold versus coronavirus. And you don't have to go in the pool. Sue wants to know, why is Buy Smart classed as essential and open from Easter Saturday too? This is a question, Sue, that I myself have that I cannot answer, because I don't know why they would be considered essential. They're not a grocery store. They sell, I guess, knickknacks and household goods and whatever. So I myself found that when I found out that they were open, I was very surprised. I don't know how that one happened. Louis says, good morning, Scott and Prentice. Scott Boss, thank you so much for tuning in. Right, so Klein, some people are just jumping in the conversation, so they might have missed it. So nothing new on the money services front, I'm afraid. A lot of people asking, why are they not essential services? JD, big shout out to Misha. Morna, saying it's a beautiful morning here in the Cayman Islands. It is. You know, despite everything that's going on, we live in an absolutely beautiful place. The water has cleared up. It's even more beautiful than ever. The starfish are probably replenishing because nobody's touching and feeling them up. Poor little starfish. The stingrays are still being fed. Let's talk about some of these flights. So Daniel wants to know about the flight situation. Now, I have a poll question. Let me just read a few of these comments. I want to catch up on the comments. And then, so Louise says, thank you. Julie, Mario, it's now. Things are running back road. You stated, back road, hotter than Mall Road. Cost of the mask, I think they were $10. And then you could get them with a filter, because they do have a filter pocket. We can put a filter in. Obviously, they're reusable so that you can wash them and reuse them and sanitize them. And $15 with the filter. Betty, all the way from Texas. Yeehaw! Austin, Texas. Thank you so much. Gadiel, no one is feeding the groupers. Well, you know what? I think the fish will learn to feed themselves. And I was even thinking this about the stingrays. The stingrays might leave Stingray City, but somehow I don't think that they're going to starve. They're going to figure it out. We have created a lot of situations with Mother Nature that now that we're all forced to mostly stay inside, Mother Nature is getting a break. She's getting to breathe. The environment is happy for this break. The air is cleaner. The water is cleaner. A lot of things are returning to their natural state. And in some instances, that's not a bad thing at all. For the first time in India in 3 decades, that's over 30 years, they're actually able to see the Himalayan mountains. That's a good thing. That's because all the pollution has been cut down because of the lack of traffic on the roads and so on. Someone shared a picture of Panama. Completely, the roads are completely, amazingly bare. Nobody on the highways, nobody on the roadways. So one of the things that people have even said about Cayman is this gives us as Caymanians, as a country, an opportunity to reset the bar a little bit with our labor and immigration concerns. So in other words, we're going to have to make people leave. There's no two ways about that. And once you leave, this will create an opportunity for perhaps Caymanians to actually get those positions, get those opportunities, and that's a good thing. So yes, someone mentioned an earthquake. We did mention that at the top of the program. So maybe you missed it, but there was an earthquake and a tsunami warning issued. It was right close to Savannah, Bight, Honduras. I'm guessing there has been no tsunami, or we would have heard about it by now. So all good. Honduras had a little bit of a shaking up. I think it was, I received a couple reports that it was like a 5 point something or a 6.3 or something. So we will check that out. Yeah, so earthquake. The earth is always shaking and moving, folks. That's what the earth do. That's what Mother Nature does. Warren says, Miss Sandy, love how you straight. No other way to be sometimes. Jamaican flights. Michelle LeMay, we're going to talk about that. Work permit holders being allowed to come on the Miami flight. Okay, here's the thing. Let me clarify a few things. So yesterday, early afternoon, or I think it was in the morning, we posted a story. Of course, Cayman Road had it first and had it apparently pretty much spot on about flight movements in and out of the Cayman Islands. So what we know is that Cayman Airways will be chartering a World Atlantic, I think that's the name of the company, flight that is coming inbound from Miami, KX 3113. This is the level of detail that CMR can bring you because we got sources. Leaving Miami at 11 o'clock. At the same time that KX 3113, a chartered flight with World Atlantic Airlines, is leaving Miami tomorrow, KX 3102, which will be a Cayman Airways flight, will be outbound from the Cayman Islands going to Miami. So here's a little bit about what we know that's happening. There are about 100 people that are coming in. So that's about half a load of people coming in on the World Atlantic Airlines flight. Those persons are Caymanians or residents who were stranded overseas. Now, legally, if you are resident on the island, you have PR, you have some form of status, we cannot tell you that you can't come back in. So that's the thing. Like a lot of people are even saying it for our own Caymanians, we shouldn't allow them in. It's not quite legally how that works. So yes, there are people coming in, and there will also be some people going out. On Saturday, we have 2 flights, I understand, that are going out to Nicaragua. So the World Atlantic, my sources have confirmed, will be overnighting in Cayman. Any employees or staff on that flight will be immediately quarantined, just like they did with the BA flight that had to overnight, at the Comfort Suites. And then my sources indicate that the World Atlantic flight will then travel on to Nicaragua on Saturday. So that's one of the planes that will go to Nicaragua on Saturday to take people there. And Cayman Airways will also be sending a flight as well. So there should be two flights that are going to Nicaragua, because one of the things that's going on is they don't want the flights jam-packed, because then, you know, that kind of makes social distancing on a plane. Impossible. So they're doing about half a load on these planes, spreading people out in terms of seating. So they're not sitting people like right next to each other or anything like that. And in addition to that, they have certain protocols in place that they are informing those people who are traveling that they need to ensure that they are adhering to. Wearing a mask is one of them. So we know, for example, that Debbie and her husband, they were stuck in Texas after her husband had to go away for medical treatment. And she has been desperate to get back because she's a BRAC resident. And they actually have animals and stuff that she needs to come and, take care of. So that will happen. She's coming back on that flight, as well as others who are trying to get back. So there's going to be some movement in and out of the Cayman Islands airport. Now, I don't know why it's necessary. I saw some rude, let me not say that word today on this beautiful Thursday. Some rude person, jackass. We'll use the word jackass for something else that I clearly wanted to say. Commented on that story about, oh, you're fear mongering. And why didn't you tell people that people are going to be in isolation, blah, blah, blah. Okay, folks, who else has been living under a rock in this country? We know from the BA flight that going forward, any flights that come into the Cayman Islands, anyone that's coming in, they will be subject to an immediate mandated quarantine. No more of this voluntary, you go at home and isolate in your home. That's not how this is going to work. So if you're coming in on that flight, you've already been advised, and you know this, and I thought this was kind of general common knowledge at this point, because we've been through this already with the BA flight, and we know that this is how it's going to work, even for flight crew. You will be subjected to an immediate quarantining situation. The second you get off that plane, you'll be put on the bus and you'll be transported to Comfort Suites, where your behind will stay for the next 14 days. And just as before, you'll be tested at the end of your 14-day stay at the government's expense. They will take care of all of your expenses while you're there. You will be tested, and subject to the results of that test, you will be released from the facility on day number 15 or however long it takes for the test to come in. Now, for some reason, if you test positive, you will remain longer and be subject to additional testing to make sure you are clear of the virus before they let you go. This is the procedure, folks. This is how it works. And you can assume that anyone coming in, this is the protocol of what will be done. Mandatory isolation for 14 days. If you want to come back and not be subjected to mandatory isolation, you ain't coming back. Simple as that. So 2 flights on Friday to Miami, 1 inbound from Miami. About 100 returning Caymanians and returning residents. On Friday, so Cayman Airways will have 1 flight departing to Miami. That's taking people out, folks, and it comes back empty. Empty meaning, obviously, just the pilot. And I mean, if a plane is empty, I'm thinking the pilots and maybe 1 crew, 1 flight attendant. I don't even know if that's required or how that works. So 160 persons will be leaving to go to Nicaragua. So if you are not already on that list, those planes are coming back empty as well. So again, we're not bringing anybody in from those locations. You need to make sure that you've called the emergency line 244-3333. Send them an email. They've been having some sort of issue with their emails going through. And we are making preparations for other people to leave the jurisdiction as well. We'll talk about that in a second. I need to throw a question out there because I saw someone mention this and someone asked me to put it out there. If you are here from any of these countries that we're putting on flights for, and you refuse to leave. So if you're from Nicaragua, Honduras, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, and we put on flights to those locations and you refuse to leave and you are here without employment opportunities, the question that I'm going to put out there that has been in discussion on the Mall Road is, should you then be denied any government assistance? So this is what people are saying. That, listen, if we put on a flight, you need to leave. You need to go. If you refuse to go, which I'm hearing that there are actually some people that are refusing to leave, which is like, are you kidding me? But if you refuse to go, should you be denied access to assistance in this country? Well, I don't think you're probably going to starve, but it does raise the question about why would people be refusing to leave. So someone says, good morning, Sandra. Can you please send out a message to the people that's on a work permit and not working and don't want to leave? Why I say this is because I hear some Nicaraguans saying that they won't leave until they get their pension. I was so upset when I heard them talking. And the thing is, they work in the tourist sector. So in other words, they have no jobs for the foreseeable future. So this is a situation that I think the premier needs to address today in his press briefing. If you have a pension fund here, you will get whatever's in your pension fund. I wouldn't think it's a whole lot, but whatever it is, you're going to get your money. However, I don't think it should be optional for you to decide that you're going to stay and burden this country because, oh, you have to hold out and wait for your pension money. By law, you will get your pension money transferred into a pension fund in your country. There's no law that requires you to get it any other way, just for the record. If they change the law next week or the week after that allows some people to have access to it, that doesn't really mean that you should be trying to hold out for that, knowing full well that in the foreseeable future, it is highly unlikely that we will be having any additional flights put on to get you out of this country. So you need to be sensible at a time like this. And the country, the premier of this country, in my opinion, needs to mandate that if you are here and you are unemployed, you need to leave when flights are made available. Daniel, we've been saying it for weeks now. The governor has been saying people needed to contact that emergency hotline, the 244-3333, or email them at emergencytravel@gov.ky. If you have not been doing that, because those persons who were on that list, they were the ones to first get notified that, okay, you're on the list. So basically it places you in a priority order. You're on the list. You're now able to book your travel. We have a confirmed seat for you because you've been on this list. And I've been telling people who've been contacting me, call this number, get on the list. So that's the first thing, because then they can gauge how many numbers of persons need to leave the Cayman Islands. So even if you're Jamaican, call 244-3333, email emergencytravel@gov.ky. I think they need to increase the number of lines that they have going into that call center number from the 5 people to probably 10. So this is your opportunity now to get out before the ish really hits the fan. It's not going to get any better, folks. It's actually going to get worse. And the fewer people that we have on our island who are destitute because they have no employment, the better. So yesterday, We understand that Kirk Freeport from last week actually have now started letting staff off. Before that, we had one or two staff members contact us to say that they will let go, but now it's a more widespread situation. Because their business is going to be non-operational for probably 6 to 8 months. This is the long haul vision, folks. Go back home where you have your family and you have other people, your own governments that can help you. It is unfair for you to remain in the Cayman Islands when you came here as a guest worker and think that if you have the option to leave, that you shouldn't leave because our government is going to take care of you. Our government is a small country, small government with limited resources. We collect government fees up front. So right now we might have a little bit of a cushion, but that cushion is about to disappear and hard times are coming. I'm waiting to hear from these MLAs who are making $13,000 a month from the public purse, who are crying on the airwaves, how much of a pay cut they will be taking to make sure that the rest of us are not crying and in tears here shortly. I want to see how many are brought to tears by that situation. They are working on additional flights. Canada, they're planning 2 flights to Canada for next week. So if you're Canadian, I'm going to put the numbers up here on the screen for emergency travel because there is a 1-800 number as well. Canadians, things are looking good for you to get out. Take the opportunity to leave. I know that there's a lot of Canadians that actually work like in the restaurant business and stuff like that. There's the number, folks. Honduras, I think they're working on that. And a couple other locations that are being worked on. The thing with Honduras, obviously they've closed their borders, so need to work out the logistics of how that's going to open up. Dominican Republic, they're working on as well. So like this woman right now who's here on a work permit, she works at a salon. We know this because the salon owner put that business out there. And she was a positive test that was seen walking about like nobody's business at an apartment complex there in Georgetown Central, potentially infecting other people. She's from DR. I actually had someone stop me in the grocery store yesterday, a Dominican lady. And she says, Miss Sandy, I love your program. I love what you're doing. And I support you 100%. Sometimes my own people, Dominicans, come here and it's like they're not respectful. She's been here over 25 years. She's like, we always, from the get-go, knew that this was not our country. Although, by now she has status, I'm sure. But, we had to be respectful of the rules here, following the rules, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like you get a new breed of guest workers and visitors to the country who don't have that level of respect. They're all here getting involved in drugs and prostitution and gaming. Not gaming, but what do we call it here? Number selling and all this kind of foolishness. So some real concerns in the Dominican community because of her actions and what she decided to do. I'm going to tell you straight up, I have no compassion for her, and I have no qualms about saying she should be the first person on that flight. Clear her, make sure she doesn't test positive here in a couple days, remove her from mandatory quarantine, and send her on the flight. She doesn't have a job right now. The salon is closed. Her employer admitted that in a post that they put on social media. So send her home. Jamaica is proven to be a little bit of a tricky situation because I don't think the prime minister wants to take Jamaicans back. Can I just be 100% honest? There's something going on right now with the US and some deportees. I don't know if you guys saw that on Cayman Mall Road. Basically, the Americans have said, listen, Trump has said, we not business with you, Jamaica, and what you want to do from what you don't want to do. You will be taking your people back. We will put them on a plane and send them back to you. Whether you want them or not, that's your business. But we're sending them. So if you want them to just sit on the plane, okay, that's on you. But we're going to put them on the plane and we're going to send them back to you. And then you decide from there whether you're going to open your airport or what is it that you're going to do. So, right. So yes, they're being sent back. So it appears to me that for whatever reason, and I think we can probably figure it out, it probably comes down to money and trying to control the spread of COVID-19. The Jamaican Prime Minister is not that keen on reopening the Jamaican borders. So he has basically said, if they decide to do that, and he's been mulling it over, Jamaican nationals, when you come in, you've got to be prepared to pay something for the hotel that you're going to be staying in. Maybe government will cover a portion of the cost, but they're expecting you to pay for your stay at the hotel, at least in part. And you will have to be subjected to mandatory quarantine. I mean, they have had 5,000 persons go into Jamaica that they can't even find. So I could kind of see in a way why the premier has some concerns and why he's probably thinking, yeah, this is not such a great idea. Because the second he opens up the borders again, there's going to be this floodgate of a situation, which he obviously does not want. It's understandable at some level, yeah? But I also don't quite get, if you're the premier of a country, that this is some of the stuff that you're going to have to put up with. I mean, these are things that happen. This is why they elected you. So I believe that that's one of the issues why the negotiations are taking a little bit longer with locations like Jamaica. My sources here have claimed that no one has made official contact between Cayman and Jamaica with the Prime Minister's office. So they're like, they don't know who, and they're well-placed sources that I'm speaking to. So they're like, they don't really know who the Cayman officials are talking to, but they're not speaking to the Prime Minister in his office about repatriating Jamaicans back home. So that's kind of interesting. I don't really know what that's all about, but I think we'll get some more details. So they're working on Honduras, and again, Honduras borders are closed, just like Jamaica. Cuba, I heard something, it wasn't mentioned, I don't think, yesterday about Cuba, but I kind of, for some reason, I'm thinking I heard that there might be some discussions with the Cuban governments again as well. So this is a tricky situation because the Cayman Islands government can't force a country like Cuba, Jamaica, or Honduras to open your borders and take your people back. I mean, your governments have to be willing to do that. And it could be the situation that, these countries are like, listen, you stay in Cayman and make the Cayman government take care of you, which is highly unfair because, we can't write to the Jamaica Prime Minister and be like, okay, we have 5,000 Jamaicans here who don't have any work, et cetera, and they have to leave. That's going to cost us X millions of dollars in NAU support. Can you write us a check? The Prime Minister of Jamaica is going to be like, let me see now. Me not have it in the bank account. Me sorry. And then we're out of luck. So in many respects, it's not fair to us. And it's certainly not fair to the Jamaicans who are being put in that position by their own government. So, Mr. Prime Minister of Jamaica, please open your borders, figure it out, whatever containment plan, because we get the logistics of why you want to contain people. We see people not adhering to the quarantining requirements even now in Jamaica. So we get that a lot of your own people, they're your people, sir, with all due respect, but a lot of them just don't get it, and they're putting everyone at risk. We understand that the 125 positive cases that you now have as of yesterday is going to soon be into the thousands. We get it. We know that there are thousands of people already that have this in Jamaica. That's the reality of what we're dealing with. But the solution to that is not to refuse to allow people to come back. You got to have a plan, just like as Caymanians, we can't refuse our own residents and our own Caymanians. Now, there's a few Caymanians who are overseas, who are stuck in other locations. That they're trying to get back home. So some of them, and I see Florita, I was just thinking about you, Flo. I didn't even see your comment. I was thinking about you. Flo, we're going to talk about your situation. Filipinos, it's tricky because they have to go through other countries to get back to the Philippines. So we can get Filipinos to the U.S., but the problem is you can't stay in the U.S. And I can tell you, Trump not making you stay. So that's a little bit of a tricky situation. So Flo says that she's not going to vent today, but the emergency hotline still isn't being answered. Still no response to email. How the hell would you know that you are in that supposed list if you ain't getting any response from them? Can someone tell me where this emergency travel office is? I am just so tired of this. They are a government-run office, Flo. Hold on a second. I want to see if I can call them right now. Just hold on. Oh, hold on. 244. Let's give them a call on Flo's behalf. See if we can't get him to answer the phone. Flo's frustrated. She has a situation. I'm not trying to put your business out there, Flo, but she can't come right now because of ongoing medical treatments, but she'll be ready to come probably in another 2 weeks, and she's trying to figure out what's going on and how this works. So this is what happens. You call the emergency hotline. They only have 5 lines working, and they don't have a voicemail system
Please enter a mailbox number
or anything else. So it rings off, and people like Flo are getting frustrated. She's getting pissed off. She doesn't know what's happening. And she's overseas, so I'm sure it's difficult for her to keep calling. Dania says, yes, what about the people who have a domestic helper? Stop them to work without pay, and also don't pay them for the last month either. So there's a couple employment-related situations.
Welcome to the message center.
If you're going to let people go, and somebody was talking about the Marriott doing this, trying to tell people, oh, you need to take a sabbatical or some sort of leave of absence, because they don't want to say, we're letting you go. Because when you say you're letting somebody go, then by law, you're obligated to pay them severance and whatever else you owe them. So some of these so-called employers are getting, they think they're smart, right? They're getting tricky with how they want to let go staff. And so the labor department needs to be on top of this like white on rice, because this is not right. You can't take advantage of people in a time like this when you're a company. So like I said earlier, we know for a fact that Kurt Freeport's starting to let people go, but they're also following the law, giving people the compensation packages and stuff like that that they are obligated to get. And that's what you have to do if you're an employer. So when I hear these stories about people haven't been paid from all January and stuff like that, this is ridiculous. And labor is going to be on your asses, people, if you're an employer doing this. And in fact, I would encourage any of you who find yourself in this predicament to contact us here at Cayman Mall Road with the proof of what you're saying, that you haven't been paid, they're not paying your benefits, etc., because we will add them to our Jackass of the Day list. And I can assure you that list is going to be getting long here very shortly. We're going to do a very interesting Jackass of the Day today. I think that all of you will find interesting, because the Cayman Islands government is actually going to be on the Jackass of the Day list, as well as a few other people. Today, we will have more than one Jackass of the Day. We will have a category of jackasses. Flo, I know I did get through to the office the other day. Nobody's answering the phone right now. I was thinking this would be an ideal time because they've just opened. I mean, let's try them again. But this is what's happening. People are calling and they're getting frustrated because they cannot get through. Sean.
Morning, the emergency travel helpline. How may I assist you?
Hello. Good morning. We need to add someone's name to your list, please.
This is in respect to what, ma'am?
Travel out of the States.
Travel from the States?
Yes.
Okay, for that now, that's being handled by Cayman Areas, so you can contact Cayman Areas there. Are you calling from Grand Cayman or are you calling from the States?
This person who needs to be added to the list is in the States, but the problem is they're not able to come this weekend. So they're having, a medical situation where they probably can't come for like another 2 weeks or so. So how do they handle that?
Okay, they can, but the only flights to the States are already flights that are happening this weekend.
Okay, so then that means that
one is returning and there'll be no more flights for the foreseeable future after that.
So does that mean then that you can't take their name to say that they are interested?
Sure, I can't take their names. What I'm telling you is that I can't say when the next flight will be.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but they've not been able to get through to the hotline at all because
yes, which hotline have they? This hotline, or are you talking about Cayman Areas?
No, this hotline. They've not been able to get through, and then the email is bouncing back, and one.
Right. So what I was telling you, I could give. So they're not able to travel this weekend. That's what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay, and they sent an email already?
Yes, but it keeps bouncing back, and they're not getting a response, so they don't even know if the email is getting through.
Yeah, what you see is just that we have tons of emails coming, as you can appreciate, and tons of calls. So the email response that you would have got we understand that there's an error, so we apologize for that. But the email was received. It's just that a whole lot of emails are coming in, and there are not many people to process.
Yeah, well, I don't know why they can't fix that error, but that's a whole. I'm sure that's not in your pay grade, but some.
Not only it's outside of my responsibility, but it's just a lot that we have to deal with, especially now with knowledge of the flights that are going out. So just thank you for your understanding that, and we apologize that you didn't get a response to say that we got the email and stuff like that. So
yeah, because someone in the IT department could set up like an autoresponder to just acknowledge your email has been received.
Yeah, that's we have those because you're not the first to call to say that. Those recommendations have put forward, but everything is happening quite quickly. You said to add a person. You have someone already added into our system?
No. Can I give you the information now to add them?
Sure. Just give me a moment. All right. And what's your name and telephone number, just in case you get disconnected?
Okay.
First name, last name,
So my name is Sandra. Sandra.
Spell it for me.
Sandra, Sandra.
Last name?
Hill.
Pardon?
Hill, Hill. Phone number. I'll give you the office number 623.
You're giving me an office number.
Yeah, you can reach me on that. 623
Mm-hmm.
7658. So
Are there other numbers?
sorry?
Do you have any other numbers?
No, but I'm gonna
so that we can.
I'm giving you information for someone else. So I'm not calling for myself. I'm just making the call
No,
on
I
their behalf.
understand that, but are you the point of contact?
For now, yeah, I guess until you can reach out to them. I'm gonna give you their number and name.
Okay, all right. The reason why I asked is because how we usually send out information is through email or by phone. So if you're the primary contact.
No, I'm gonna give you their primary contact information where you should send it to.
Okay, all right, no problem.
All right, so they're in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Hold a minute.
Okay.
I have to enter the information into the system into a certain sequence. So please
Okay. All right.
All right, go ahead and give me their last name.
Okay, so the first last name is Bodden. And the first name is Mardia, Mardia.
Their date of birth. Give me the date and the month and the year.
Okay, hold on.
This is a female?
Yes.
Day, month, and year.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me just get that. Can you enter any other information while I'm waiting on that?
Sure.
Telephone number?
Your telephone number.
Yes.
Is it a mobile number?
Yes.
Is it a Cayman number?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
916 5601.
Do they have email address?
Yes. I'm just gonna put this on mute for 1 second. So Okay, folks, thank you guys so much for hanging in there. I see a few of you dropped out, but no worries. The vast majority of you hung in there with us. I really appreciate it. It was like a 25-minute call. Didn't think it would take that long, was kind of thinking that it was a quick, here's the name and phone number kind of thing, but they were asking a number of different questions, and that's why I muted the call. I saw someone here, Eddie, said, oh, you should have muted the call from the first. Well, we didn't actually know that they'd be asking all that information, Eddie, but thank you for your feedback. As soon as we realized that this was going on for a bit, they wanted to know all sorts of personal details, date of birth, and blah, blah. And that's when I said, okay, I've got to mute this call. So now, Flo, you are good to go. You're actually on the list. They've gotten all of your personal details. And for data protection reasons, they needed me to confirm with her that she was authorizing them to store this information for up to 30 days after the COVID emergency is over. And then they will be deleting it. So it's a lengthy conversation. So yeah, if you need to call them, that's why the lines are taking so long. I mean, now it makes sense because if each phone call is about, 15 to 25 minutes to gather your information and the details of what's going on with you, they've only got 5 people working. So I saw someone on here, I can't remember who that was, that they would volunteer and maybe help out the call center. I don't know if they have enough space to put people, if they have the capacity in terms of the lines, but that should be easy enough for someone to do, to add those things. Like the phone company, I'm sure, can do that. Jessica says, make sure you have credit on your phone, more than $10, because it's going to take a few minutes for you to provide this information. Yes. So the number scrolling across the screen, 949-2311, that's of course Cayman Airways. Lizette, thank you for joining in. Jesse says, I'd like to ask your manager then, if you haven't, and get it on record, take note of who you spoke with. I'm not sure what this is about. Oh, but hiring or rehiring, termination. People need to get their payout. Yes, for sure. So Louis was encouraging some conversation between you guys. I know a lot of people are like, why is it muted? There's no sound. So I see all of those messages. Sometimes you've got to read what's on screen. Like there's an actual reason why we put the information on the screen. So thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Morna. These are people who are saying, yes, we are aware that there's no sound and there's a reason why. Thank you, Louis. There's a reason why the call was muted. So again, that's 2 Caymanians now that have been added to the list. And 2 more that hopefully will be home soon. Yeah. Lisa says, Sandy gets things done. Maybe you need to run Cayman for a term. No, is the short answer. But Lisa, thank you. I appreciate that. I've said it here before, and I'm going to say it again. We do not all need to be in the elected house to get things done in this country. In fact, I'm of the opinion that you can get so much more done when you don't have the constraints of having to pander to voters, because most voters do not want the cold hard truth. They might want some cold hard cash in their hands to vote for you, but few of them actually want the cold hard truth when it really comes down to it. And at the end of the day, I'm not at my age interested in playing those games. I don't have no time for it. And as many of you know, as I've said before, I do have a young daughter, and she, along with my husband, have to be my number 1 priority in life. And so I don't want to expose her to any more foolishness in life than I really have to. And I think, unfortunately, politicians do make that decision, and their families have to be on board with them, and they take it all on as part of the process. So here on CMR, I can control to a large extent what happens, this platform, what goes on. And so I am no longer, at one point I thought that that's where I needed to be as well. But as I've said here, that on this program, you're right where you're supposed to be. Cayman Mall Road is where I'm supposed to be. I feel like I reach so many more people through this platform and I can get so much more done. We have a show automatically. There are hundreds of people tuned into the show. We can provide you guys with information that is accurate and useful information. We can, take your concerns. There's a young lady, for example, who got a ticket because she was using one last name versus another last name. And I honestly think that the police officer who issued her the ticket this week was a little bit confused. Because she's married, she has a new last name, but not all of her documents have been changed yet. So she showed him the passport, which was due for renewal with the new married name. But he said no, he couldn't accept the passport. He needed to have the driver's license. So, of course, the driver's license had her old name, and he assumed that she's trying to get one up on the police and issued her a ticket. This woman doesn't have $1,000 or whatever the going rate is for these tickets right now to pay this. And it was genuinely not her trying to deceive anyone. It was just that she hadn't had an opportunity to change all of her documents. And so in the moment, I think the officer misread what was going on. So, we have been in contact with the police commissioner to see if we can get that sorted out for her. So in some ways, CMR offers a supplementary service, if you will, to the elected officials. We take some of the burden off of them because if you ask me a question, I get you an answer, I'm able to help you. That's one less person that's running to an MLA for help, is how I see it. So, Lisa, thank you so much. But we all have a role to play in the bigger picture. And it's not necessarily in this political arena at that point in time. We can contribute in a meaningful way in many, many different ways. And CMR is a service that brings you news, brings you information. And I think that we needed something like Cayman Mall Road here in this community, especially as more and more traditional media houses are actually disappearing. Yeah. Helen says, when can person make call to your show? You can call anytime you want. The WhatsApp number is 324-1612. Now, the second I started announcing that last week, we had those people trolling us the other night, as you guys will recall, from that lady who was arrested for the immigration situation. And I don't know what she's all upset about because what we said was true. But they started trolling us and wanting to pretend like they wanted to come on the show. So don't troll me, folks, because I know how to use the block button very well. Lily says, Helen, I understand you're upset for what's happened yesterday. Sorry again. I'm not sure what we're referring to there. Cynthia, thank you so much for the kind comments. Kelly. But Sandy, people can't call the helpline with credit. Jesus, no, without credit, I'm sure is what she meant to say. Yeah, it looks like you need to have a little bit of credit. And I don't hear anything about a toll-free number. That helpline, I don't think is toll-free. So yes, that is challenging. Lily, Charles the Killer Whitaker, he was on the show on Monday. Thank you so much, Charles. Girl, you see how upset some people got when we gave them the truth on the show on Tuesday. Yes, that was Tuesday. My apologies. Monday was a holiday. Caymanians don't like the truth. You care, Sandy. Most are elected don't care. Well, it is what it is, folks. And yeah, people, listen, I get the truth is cold and it's hard. And, not everyone can take it. Some people want you to pretty it up and put it in a nice little blanket and, package it nicely for them. That's not what we do here. And that's why, quite frankly, we're not everybody's cup of tea. But the thing I love about tea is there's a whole variety of it out there. You can get mint tea, you can get black tea, you can get green tea, you can get it piping hot, you can get it a little bit warm, you can have cold iced tea. Tea can be served in so many different ways. So the analogy is we serve it to you here cold and hard. But that might not be your cup of tea. You can go to other news platforms to get it how you like it. If you like it a little bit softer, the Compass is there for you. They got your hand. They got your back. They can pat you in the back. CNS came under some, what a lot of people felt was well-deserved scrutiny this week. So yes. All right, so taxi driver, I did get just a little bit of confirmation that that 2 week thing or 2 person thing, that was kind of the first week, but they're suggesting that you email curfewtime@gov.ky to actually get your exemption approved. So folks, that is the email address. If you have a business that you need to, I'm going to put this here in the little on the show. If you need to email to find out if you qualify for an exemption, that email address is curfewtime@gov.ky. Time to wrap up the morning show, so time for just a few more comments. Nicole just sent me a PM about shipping predictions in Bloomberg. Ooh, yikes. That doesn't sound good. Louis says he's having some tea as we speak. Tea is life. Louis, I love that. What are you drinking? What kind of tea? Listen, my husband is Jamaican, but he is of Indian descent. And can I tell you, he loves him some tea. We have a drawer that's just the tea drawer. And in the tea drawer, there's every imaginable flavor of tea. All the traditional tea, like herbal teas that we have in the Caribbean, of course. There's 2 new ones that I bought the other day. One is supposed to help you kind of sleep at night a little bit better. And then there's another one for like a little bit more energy during the day. Like we have an entire tea drawer full of tea, all different flavors. I have it organized, a lot of tea. So we are tea drinkers. He also drinks coffee. I do not personally drink coffee. So Nicole says, stock up if you can. I feel a little upset about a point you made, and I'd rather call and talk about it off air. Thank you. Okay. All right. Norine, good morning to you. Anything else before we wrap it up, folks? I see some voice notes coming in. They're probably of a personal nature, so we won't air those. Some positive messages for the day. And I think that's it. I think we're good. Lady Gray is my favorite, says Louis. Twinnings Lady Gray. Yes, very nice. Now, do you put anything in your tea? I only do imported from Jamaica, from my husband's family farm. They have a bee farm. And so we get honey. And we always have a stock of honey. And so I use that honey, and that's it. Jamaican is having a health conference at 10 o'clock. Thank you, Shan. We will stream that live for you guys so that you can know what's going on in Jamaica. I'm sure that's more breaking news, no doubt. 2 o'clock press conference here. So make sure you tune back in at 2 o'clock to hear our regular government press conference. And then at 7 o'clock, since today is Thursday, we are back in the saddle for the evening edition of the Cold Hard Truth. Helen, send a voice note on WhatsApp. That's the best way to reach me. All right, folks, let's go ahead and do our outro music. You guys have a wonderful and blessed day. Flo, hang in there. Hopefully you'll be home soon enough.
You don't know who I am. I know all about you. I've come to talk to you tonight about the things I've seen you do. I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine